Hi, this is Sports Replays. Not very good this week, to be honest. Yeah, not good enough. I haven't gone down too much in the rankings, but a bit of a mediocre weekend, a bit of a roller coaster scores. There's players you perform poorly, you expected to do a bit better. And then you had a few players who did okay. A bit of a surprise. There was a few things that went my way, but yeah, just a bit behind where I was last year and the year before. I was expecting it to do a lot better this year, also a little bit better, but it just hasn't panned out that way. And we'll just start off with Dacos, 116. So he had a good last quarter. It was pretty average for the rest of most of the game. Sort of helped Collingwood to get back into it. They probably would have lost by about 4 or 5 goals if he wasn't playing. And then you've got Sheasel here, 106, 103, which isn't that great either. It's standard, not too bad. I mean, look, yeah, everyone has Sheasel, so doesn't really matter what he gets as long as he doesn't get injured. And then we go to Houston, 59, which is arguably probably the most disappointing player in my side this week. 59 is just shocking. I mean, a lot of the top players have him, so it's not a huge deal. It's just frustrating, though, when you have a player, you pay up a lot and he just dishes the game up like that. And poor they were lucky to win that. I mean, they weren't really that great. They really don't deserve to be in the 8. And there's one side that's probably going to drop out. I reckon it'll be them, to be honest. Although, who knows? Yeah, so 59 is not good enough. It was by far his worst game, considering he got 170 a few weeks ago. It's a bit of a roller coaster now. The last few weeks with Houston, usually he's been fairly consistent. He has a low floor, but yeah, he showed how bad he can be at times. And then we go to Luke Ryan, 116. Yeah, I mean, took the VC option. Wasn't a terrible score, but it was dropped off a little bit in the last. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's okay, but for a VC, you want like minimum 130 plus. And he's just been slight drop off this month compared to his, the start of the season where he started off on fire. I mean, we'll take 116 if that's one of his. It's an average score. There's not really much more I could say. A lot of top players have him there, so it's not a huge deal what he gets. Then Lockie Whitfield, 117, which could have been a lot higher. He scored about 160, dream team, but only got 117 Supercoach, which is a bit frustrating because he could have got at least 140, and I would have been, pretty happy with the selection. And he's bounced back the last couple of weeks, so he's still staying in my side at this stage. I think Whitfield's, he's probably slightly overperformed my expectations this year. I mean, it's been about expectations, to be honest. It's not. Still feel he could probably score a little bit more. If he probably kicked a little bit better. As long as he doesn't get injured. And then, Nick Martin, 75s. He's just dropped off the last couple of months. I think really having Ridley back is going to hurt his scoring a little bit. And he was just disappointing. Not a huge disaster score, but he's probably a few other defenders you'd rather have in your side at the moment. I mean, it's not the most frustrating selection this year. I hold him through the whole season, and he's had his highs and lows. I think, Essendon were just disappointing in the second half, and just weren't good enough. Supercoach wise, it was probably our worst scoring game. Probably even worse than Port Adelaide. It just wasn't our weather, and a lot of decisions went against us. That were, that just in that third quarter, and the momentum swung. Don't think it changed Martin's scoring too much because he was still pretty average at half time anyway. Which we'll talk about his teammate in a minute. And they got Leakalea, 36, which is he's one of his worst scores for the month. So, I mean, he might be a trade out just to get into it, like a shown maker potentially, to get that extra cash. Because I still have 264, and then I can probably upgrade a ruckman or a forward. Probably ideally a ruck, get rid of Sean or someone like that. the side later on. But I mean, if he can play every game, I guess it's ideal for coverage. But I still want to, if I can get another rookie on the bubble, get that extra cash just to do an upgrade, because I can't have a rookie on field now. I'm just losing points. And then Bontempelli, 157. So if you had him as a VC option, you'd be laughing. You'd be happy with that. I didn't take that risk, even though they were playing against North Melbourne. It's just hit or miss. It's like a bit of a roll of the dice with that option VC. It didn't really cost me in the end. So not too bad with Bont. I mean, look, in my opinion, he's probably the best player in the comp. But, he probably ready to win the Brownlow this year, but who knows. 78 for Merritt. Yeah, disappointing second half. He had a great first half, or decent first half, but just dropped away in the second half, which is just one of his probably worst game this season. Just unlike Merritt, as a leader, you're supposed to try to lift your side when you're struggling, and unfortunately wasn't able to do that. And 78. I mean, that's his floor. I mean, we'll just take it, but it's not quite. It's just he's performed a bit below than what expectations, I guess. It's not a. It is what it is with Merritt. It's. I mean, look, he's not going to give you that 170 score, but he's not going to give you that 50 score like a key forward. 78, you expect better from him, and Essendon, And then you've got Sarong, another player who was disappointing. Didn't score that much in the last quarter. Was okay for the first three quarters. Freo were outplayed in the last quarter, even though they won. So Sarong's dropped off a little bit too lately. It's just a bit frustrating when you get multiple players in the midfield who are just underperforming. And then you got Zach Butters, 114, who did okay. Just a standard score. Nothing chaotic. And then you got Sam Walsh, which sort of saved me a little bit with 148. So I took the gamble against Richmond, took the captain option, and paid dividends. Only lost 9 points for Bont. So that wasn't the biggest concern this week. It sort of saved my round, to be honest. And then you've got Dawson, another 40 my side. Not a terrible score, but I mean, ideally for a midfielder, for a primo, you want at least 110 average. Ideally 115. He just hasn't delivered that this season. He's had a few good games. His first month was absolutely horrible, but he sort of bounced back from there. But look, it's one of those decisions where, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have started with him, but it's a bit too late now. I mean, I could probably potentially get rid of him, but there's a few other issues I want to sort out. I'll just have to hope for the best, to be honest. It's a bit too late. And Tom Green, 117. So he's bounced back the last couple of weeks after a horrid, 6 weeks. Ever since that, score of 5 where he got subbed off, he just hasn't performed to the same level of standard. Same with GWS. They might not make the 8 now. Considering they were very good for the first month. And they've this dropped off. So they've been disappointing, to be honest. So they've been quite good enough. You've got to be beating sides like Adelaide. And then you got Tuke Miller, 121. So he's bounced back this week, which is good. Happy with that. Still lost a bit of cash, but if we can retain this 120 going forward, that'd be great. Gold Coast did win, so that's good for them. Miller, I mean, I'll probably hold on to him at this stage. I mean, with the midfield, it's like, there's not a few frauds, but who else I'm going to bring in? I think Trawl's actually done better than Dawson this year, which is a bit surprising. And maybe Gordon, but he performed poorly this week too. And then on the bench, you've got Dowling, 57, that's okay. So he's made a bit of money. Hopefully he keeps his spot. So I'm happy with that. And then Manor, and then you got Brown, who, again, I don't know what Melbourne are doing. Having him as a sub 2 weeks in a row. I reckon they should just play the kids now. It's just frustrating with these sub rules, which we'll get on to another player in a minute. which I'm a bit annoyed about. And then Manor, I'm not too sure if he's going to be playing. Hopefully he does get a game. And then on to the rucks, which are probably the most disappointing line this week, to be honest. You had Grundy performing poorly, you had English, you got Gawn, and you had Jackson performing poorly. I think Marshall did alright, scored over 100. So a bit frustrating with the rucks. 79 from Gawn is not quite good enough. I mean, everyone has Gawn, or just about everyone. All the top players do. And Luke Jackson 72, which is when you got Sean Darcy, or Darcy in the side, it's just not going to work. Yeah, it's just what it is. And then you've got Sean who didn't even play. It's like, So I'm not too sure with the rucks here. Should I get rid? Because I haven't made any money out of Sean. And I'll at least get a couple more price rises at him than trade him off. So he's going to be either dead rookie unless Adelaide swap him in for O'Brien, which I don't think they will. I mean, maybe. Who knows? I mean, their season's over. I think he's not a young ruckman either. So that was probably a silly selection. But it was just to cover up for the buys because the Sweet didn't play, but then Sweet's done all right this week. So it's been just a few things just haven't gone my way this season. And you got Flanders 114. Look, that's okay, I guess. A bit frustrating to have him as a captain because he was going all right, but then dropped off in the last quarter. And then you got Heaney, 85, which I believe is one of his lowest scores of the season. I mean, every top player has him. Everyone has Heaney, so it's not a huge deal. But there's quite a few number of Swans players that are a bit off, and Heaney was one of them. I mean, look, if that's his floor, we'll take it. I think he's not even the highest price for it anymore. Actually, Flanders is catching up on average as well. And Zorko, 115, that's okay for his age. He's probably the best, for his age, to be honest, in the AFL. 115, that's okay. And then Fisher's another one that was a bit frustrating because he got subbed off. He was looking to at least get 100, probably 110, maybe even more. And then they just sub him off for what? Just for a tactical sub to rest him for next week? I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the worst play on the ground, that's for sure. I mean, if it was on like a score of 30, that would make more sense. I mean, I just don't understand what Clarkson was doing. I just don't get it. And then Curnow, another one, was frustrating. Probably, my opinion, probably the second or third most disappointing player in my team this week. Just simply because they were playing against Richmond, and I expected him to kick like 3 or 4 goals. He kicked 2 goals, but I guess he wasn't as influential, and he didn't really, take as many marks or contribute around the ground as much either. If you got a couple goals, at least get an 80 or even a 70 at the bare minimum. But he couldn't even do that. And since he's sort of a pod, you need at least him to go at least decent to have, advantage over everyone else. But then you got Dylan Moore or a Rankin or even a Cardwell, all scored a lot more than what Curnow did. And it just, you lose 70, 80 points because of that. And it's just frustrating. I thought, Curnow's at a cheap price, cool. You're going to expect these low fours, but not against Richmond. And they won by 10 goals as well. You did better against stronger opposition. But against a weaker opposition, he gets 54. It's just frustrating. And you got Richards, 36. He was actually as sub, which is started as sub and just sort of basically stuffed up the whole round for me. Should have probably picked Cougar over Richards and for the starting selection. Lost 28 points, which is a little bit of a big deal. But Richards is a decent scorer though. He can score well. And once he got subbed into the game, Collingwood started playing better as well. So I hope they better start him next week. Because I just wanted that extra cash rise, I guess. To be honest, I don't really care anymore, to be honest. It's just all these failed rookies and players you pick, you get rid of them, they score well, and it's just irritating. I just a lot of things just haven't gone my way. I mean, how many trades I got left? 6, which is not that much. And ideally, you want at least probably 4 from now on. But I still need to do another upgrade. So Kruger's gone up in price. It all depends if these two, Richards and Kruger, get selected next week. They got a big game here. I'm not too sure. I mean, Collingwood, what they're going to do there, because that's a huge game and it's all online. Should I bring in another forward? Should I get rid of Richards and then bring in someone else? I don't know. Richards probably still has a fairly low break even. I need to check that. Kruger's still good to go. Should I swap Jackson and put Kruger in? But Kruger can probably get dish out a score of 40 to 50. Jackson's unlikely going to do that. And have him and put the forward line there, back in there. So it's mainly the rucks and forwards. Is probably where I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Every other spot's pretty much just taken, really. I mean, ideally, I'd like to probably maybe get rid of Nick Martin, or maybe get rid of some of these other underperforming midfielders here for a primo, but I just don't have that luxury option this year due to the failed rookies. There's just so many of them. I mean, Elias sort of saved me a little bit lately, but Warner not getting selected after a poor performance. Manor didn't play many games, then he played 2, then he gets dropped. I mean, what was the point of getting him an AFL contract? And then Brown getting double subbed, which wouldn't affect my positions anyway in the last couple of weeks, but it just sort of adds up. And then Joe Richards starts as a sub. Now, I guess he was injured and I should have factored that in. Okay, should have put Kruger in over. And then Kerner performing poorly. I mean, it is what it is. A bit behind where I was the last few seasons. Ideally, I want to be, the top 6K and then hopefully, come home strong. But I might not even finish in the top 10K at the moment. So, I just don't know exactly what to do. It all depends on selection. It really depends. I might have to trade Adderley and then just bring in a Ruckman and 400k for, I don't know. I mean, get rid of Richards and bring in a Moore or someone. I don't know. Probably swap the Rocks ideally. The issue is you got Sean Darcy back. Hidderford got Richmond. I don't know that. Adelaide got Brisbane here. I mean, Adelaide season's over anyway. So it doesn't matter what they do. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope you had a better week than me.